Hello, good morning. Welcome to Outnumbered, reaching you from Oweleketv and, of course, the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Messi Baba today. You know how we do it on Outnumbered. I'm not alone. Good morning, Antonia.
Good morning,
Ramsey.
Messi.
Good morning, Mercy.
How
Good
are
morning.
you?
Good morning, Ramsey.
Well, it
Good
looks like
morning, Antonia.
Antonia is ready for something today.
Antonia has somewhere to go to
Yeah.
after.
Where are you leaving? Where are you going to after? Please, I
I'll
wouldn't
tell you
mind to
off
be your
camera.
extra.
Okay.
You
No
okay,
problem.
right?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
fine with
So far,
that.
there's item 7, yeah?
Item 7, 8, 9.
Oh, God.
7, 8, 9.
All right. How are you? Like I'd always ask, how are you, Ramsey? How
Yeah,
are
we're
you, Antonia?
fine. It's good to ask.
Okay. All right,
I'm
Antonia.
very well.
To be sure we're
Yeah,
safe.
I'm fine.
you look very well. All
I'm
right, our
fine.
viewers, this is where we start our number today. We'll be starting with our national dailies, and today I'll be starting with The Guardian. The Guardian this morning has said households groan over food prices as inflation defies interventions. I take that story again. Households groan over food prices as inflation defies interventions. That's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And now, leveraging automation for prompt justice delivery system. That's a news analysis, page 4 of the Guardian. Now, Southwest leaders fought Oyo invasion as police parade 21 suspects. That was swift and fast, if you ask me. And that's a news, page 7 of the Guardian. Now to another story. Baker bags live jail for defiling neighbor's daughter. I remember there was a time that we always talk about is there any sentencing that actually justifies rape? Some people believe that their manhood or something should be tied to a moving vehicle and make sure the vehicle moves.
That's so absurd and that's deadly. You know?
I was trying to have visualize it in my
visualize-
head.
Is that the parable or something?
Whatever you were thinking for you to defile
Somebody,
a minor,
yeah.
not even just a minor, anybody.
Okay, the sentence
Mhm.
should be that.
Should be, yes.
The
Oh,
manhood is
man.
tied.
I think there should be something for that, for rape.
Okay.
I don't know, abroad. I think there's a jail term for rape. And in Nigeria, too, there's a penalty for rape, especially when you rape an underage. Anything rape, there is a consequence.
Well,
for
this
it.
Baker has bagged life jail, and we do hope
Okay, that's one of it.
he's not going to be able to plea or anything. I pray he rots there, naturally. All right, the next story. Federal government targets $15.7 trillion artificial intelligence markets. That's a news, page 5. And now to Ward suspends Ganduje over alleged graft, state chapter kicks, and that's a news, page 3. National grid suffers third collapse, worsens 20 hours power target. That's a lot to talk about, but let's not talk about that yet. Support Tinubu or quit Matawale, tells federal appointees from North. Support Tinubu or quit. Matawale tells federal appointees from the North. And that's on news, page 30 of The Guardian. Now let's take two more stories on The Guardian this morning. Court attributes Sylvester Oromone's death to parents, doctor's negligence, and that's on news, page 7. I really wish we could talk about this story, but then it's going to just bring out too many emotions altogether. But then a few years after, this case was just, for me, I feel it wasn't handled properly. But then BCDC orders soldiers to leave Bokos as death toll hits 30. I take that again. BCDC orders soldiers to leave Bokos as death toll hits 30. And that's the news, page 30 of The Guardian. And that's all we take for the Guardian newspaper this morning. Over to Antonia.
Thank you, Mercy. On the Daily Trust newspaper, Southwest governors move against Yoruba Nation agitators. That you can find on page 25. Fuel subsidy back. Federal government paying more. This is coming from El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State, and the details of that is on page 20. The big story on the Daily Trust newspaper: 4 ex-governors, 21 other senators sponsor no bill in 10 months. And we have a rider to that story which says they should wake up. And this is coming from analysts. The story continues on page 4. And for the picture story, we have a breakdown of ex-governors' bills in the Senate and also names of ex-governors that have sponsored bills. The total bills before the Senate since June 2023. Pick up a copy of the Daily Trust newspaper and read through so you get insights into the stories. Now, finally, from the Daily Trust newspaper, APC fingers Kanu government in Ganduje's suspension. And we have some riders to that story. We have nothing to do with it. This is coming coming from the government and National Secretariat, MOM. The details of that you can find on page 11. And that will be all from the Daily Trust newspaper. Over to you, Ramsey.
All right, thank you very much, Antonia, for those headlines. Let's quickly take a look at the Punch newspaper this morning. We have this headline above the head which says, State Police. A police law amendment may take 2 years. Details on page 2. Naira nears 1,000 to $1 at parallel market. Page 36 is where you can actually find that. Dangote modular refineries to pay Naira for crude. That's a good news. You know, some persons were saying, well, this is going to go for dollar. And you know what that means. But I think this is more like a good news if Dangote modular refineries pay Naira for crude, meaning you just need to sell in Naira. This one says Nigeria's FDI fell by $19 billion in 10 years. This is coming from Edun. Well, Edun seems to be speaking so much these days. Then the big story from the Punch newspaper says, vandalism wasn't grid collapse as gas shortage slashes power supply. On page 35 is where you can find that and two more riders to that story. TCN, discuss blame gas shortage. Vandalism for frequent collapses. Firms beg customers. The second rider says that TCN plans a fresh investment in power infrastructure as grid collapses 6th time in 2024. I was thinking about this. How many months into 2024? Meaning it happens monthly or something.
Or twice a month.
Or twice a month. Well, we'll talk more about that. That should be later. Then more still coming from the Punch newspaper this morning. Yoruba Nation. Lecturer defends participation. Police Parade 21. Details on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. All right, this story has been making round since yesterday. The issue of Dunamis. Testimony backslash. Dunamis apologizes as Abuja testifier meets Enenche and wife. Well, a lot of Nigerians, should I call them sympathizers or maybe people who are concerned, have been going on social media to say so much. But then the lady came out yesterday to say, well, my father is my father, irrespective of what happens. And it later came out in respect to that. And at least I think everything has mellowed down now and life goes on. I think we need to talk more about the economy and things bordering on the nation more than some things that we feel it's more trivial. Finally, from the Punch newspaper this morning on page 5, Oromoni father kick as Corona blames parents, doctor for teenager's death. Well, that's a long time coming. I think the case has been settled right now. That's going to be the size of the headlines from the Punch newspaper this morning. Over to you, Mercy.
All right, thank you, Ramsey. Now let's move to the nations from that newspaper. And now the big story here says Ibadan attack. That's the kick of the story. The writer says police launch manhunt for Abiola's widow. And then below that, we have other backers of violent agitators and security raider as a suspect to be charged with treason, terrorism. I like that. Suspects to be charged with treason, terrorism. Well, away from that story. Now, let's say crude oil reserves eat 37.50 billion barrels. Another power grid collapse paralyzes businesses, other activities. That's still on the nation. Now, 30 held for illegal mining, and that's on page 2. NDLEA arrested 50,901 drug suspects in 3 years. That's still on the nation's newspaper. Now, let's take 3 more stories. APC suspends Ganduje's ward EXCO for 6 months. APC suspends Ganduje's ward EXCO for 6 months. That's in newspaper 4 of the nation's newspaper. Now, how to stem inflation by experts. Then rate rises to 33.20%, and that's in newspaper 5 of the nation's newspaper. Now, finally, Tinubu rides on Chibok girls, says kidnapping must end. Tinubu writes on Chibok girls, says kidnapping must end. That's a page 2 read. And finally, Corona blames Oromomi's death on parental neglect. Corona blames Oromomi's death on parental neglect, and that's on page 26 of the Nation. And for the picture story, do want to get a copy of the Nation's newspaper. And that is all. We'll wrap it up for today. After the break, we'll be talking about our lead story. Stay tuned.
Follow us on our social media handles at Oweleke TV. Visit our website at www.oweleketv for a thrilling journey. Oweleketv, rising star at the fairground.
Hello, welcome back. You're still on Outnumbered, reaching you from Oweleke TV. And now we'll be talking about power grid collapse and how they've paralyzed businesses. But then I'd like to take it from one of our newspaper this morning. I'll take it from The Punch, The Nation, and The Guardian. And now for The Punch, they've said... let me take it from The Punch. The Punch has said, vandalism worsens, grid collapse as gas shortage slashes power supply. And below that, we have TCN discus blame gas shortage, vandalism for frequent collapses, firms beg customers. Now, Antonia, I'd like to ask you a very short question. Now, it looks like we've lost count of the number of times that the power grid has collapsed. Is this a government thing or the Minister of Power thing? Or then, now the government has said it's vandalism. How do you think this can be curbed? Because I'm not sure if they will be able to meet up to the 20 hours for the Band-Aid people that we were even talking about last week.
Yeah, so basically the government has to sit up. There's enough of casting blames left, right, and center, and enough of pointing, accusing fingers. This is time for them to say, first of all, why would we rely solely on gas when we have the River Niger, we have dams that electricity could actually be generated from? And if you're saying there are persons vandalizing these gas plants and all of that, what are the measures you've put in place to nab them? Because they'll keep on going there. The economy is not stable. An angry man, a hungry man, they say, is an angry man. That is no justification for whatever thing that these terrorists or whoever is vandalizing the gas plants are doing. But if everything is stable, if the economy is stable and there are security measures to ensure that those people vandalizing are nabbed, then the electricity supply will be constant, and not just relying on gas, also exploring other ways of generating electricity.
Okay, all right. And now over to Ramsey. I would say two things. Speaking about vandalism, I remember there was a time last year where the new minister of FCT came out to say that we have the issue of vandalism when it comes to the solar panels that were attached to street lights. Remember, there was a time that we never had street lights in Abuja and everywhere was just dark. And for people that were driving, you have to be extra security cautious. And now the same has happened to the power grid. Is there a lasting solution to this people that vandalize most of government properties? Or is there a better way to protect? Because, of course, you cannot attach a policeman to every street light or the power grids in Nigeria.
Well, in an advanced country, they have these things working. What we learn from other countries is different from what we are supposed to learn.
Okay.
We've seen our leaders travel all the time, but what do they come back with? TCN, okay, and discourse to complain that gas shortage and collapse is responsible for the national grid collapse. It doesn't go down well with me. This is the 6th time this year, all right? You cannot be doing the same thing and expect a different result all the time. 2017 to 2023, we had 46 grid collapse. Then just in 2024, we are having 6 already. And look at where we are. Then you are coming to complain that it is as a result of gas shortage and vandalism. Can't anything be done about this? All right. I feel what the government should do, TCN, they've been given that responsibility, the transmission company of Nigeria.
Yeah, that's correct.
They can handle this. But it appears to me as if anything that has to affect the average Nigerian man positively, the people don't want it to work. Some persons are working seriously, like the FCT minister is seriously working. We are aware of that. Like you made mention of that, the complaint
and now, of course,
about,
you can see the street lights working.
You can see
now.
the street lights working right now. If we can do it in FCT, then we can do it in Nigeria. It is possible. You already know what is causing this problem. You know what is responsible for this, okay? Then you should be able to at least know what to do. As a matter of fact,
I think it's a case of all leaders apart from the TCN, taking responsibility and sitting up to the task, you understand, to ensure that because if you just leave it for the federal government has a lot on their table.
Plate,
So these ministries, these agencies have been created to help ease the work to be done.
Okay, now,
so
now
they
that
all
you
need
get,
they all need to take responsibility for this.
In taking responsibilities, do you think fixing security cameras would actually make things sorted as it is? Because now some persons have said, oh, maybe security cameras, but how are we sure that they wouldn't even steal?
They won't even vandalize
us. You know, we have security cameras in Abuja, but then we never saw it working.
Because around where I stay, I remember that that area, even till now, is still on the prime list of places that are not safe in Abuja. And then at some point, they started putting police vans, and then you see police people dressed in mufti. Why? We have street lights that are solar powered, and then at the end of the day, you would see, if you wake up like as early as 5 a.m. or you are coming back as late as 10 p.m., you would see these people disconnecting the solar to steal them
and sell them
at ridiculous prices.
There, yes. So what are they doing?
No, that was before they put the police.
Okay, before
there.
They put the police.
So now that we have police in different areas that you wouldn't even expect to find them there. Now it's let's say it's not fully safe, but a little bit safe at least. Because now the police can equally slip off and you don't know what is happening.
Absolutely.
But then in all of this, the federal government is trying, but we would just like to implore them to probably do more. Because now there is actually no excuse for being a mediocre when it comes to electricity. And now TCN is saying, oh, they do not want even they don't want electricity tariff hike to stay the way it is. They still want the increase in electricity tariff. But then if you are increasing electricity tariff for people, what are you giving them? You can barely even give them the band A or band B, because I'm sure no Nigerian has 16 hours power supply straight right now. And now we've added the issue of power grid collapse to that. But we do hope the federal government does something, especially the Minister of Power. Turning off a freezer would not do anything in Nigeria. All right, our viewers at home, thank you, Tonya, and thank you, Ramsey, for today on the program. This will wrap it up for today for Outnumbered. I remain Miss Babajide. See you same time, same station tomorrow. Bye for now.